Hi, this is Steve Henson. I'm a professor at Western Carolina University. And since I teach a lot of online courses, I created this little personal bio introduction in fall of 2013, and it will probably remain on my Blackboard courses for several years, at least until I grow some hair back. I'd like to start talking about myself by showing you this picture of me. I'm the big one, as you can probably guess. This is my son Chris, now 14. This is my wife Mary. This is my daughter Melissa, who in fall of 2013 is starting university herself. So I have kind of a special connection to students through her. You see this picture of my family in Innsbruck, Austria, in a summer program I teach in. About every second or third year, I'll go to Innsbruck, Austria, where the University of New Orleans gathers together about 250 United States undergraduates, mostly from the South, takes them to Innsbruck for 5 weeks, and we all have just a wonderful time doing things like hiking and drinking beer, and as you can see here, having a great time, and occasionally mixing in a class or two. This picture and this time got me a nickname from my students that particular year that I think is kind of relevant to me. They started about halfway through the semester calling me Happy Henson. I am a happy person. I've both been blessed and lucky and made some good decisions that have gotten me to a point in my life where I'm pretty much the person I want to be. I'm doing the things I want to do. I told a friend I hadn't caught up with in a while recently that I really enjoy at least 90% of my job, other than the occasional faculty meeting. There are very few things not to like about what I do. I love to teach. I enjoy the research I do and the community service activities that I perform. I was born way back, 1954, if you want to date me, and went to university in let's see, I guess I started in 1972, graduated in 1976 from Mercer University, a small public, high quality regional university. When I graduated in those days, back in the late 70s, I did what most people did and went to work for a big company. In my case, GE Capital, General Electric Capital. And I want to point out that at the time, and for most of the next 25 years or so, General Electric and particularly GE Capital were perhaps the most respected and by many measures, the best company in the world, right up until 2008, when GE Capital was right in the middle of all the mess with the credit management issues. I worked for GE for 5 years. I started out with them as a auditor, worked as an account manager, an account executive, a collections manager, a credit manager, a marketing manager. In those days, you expected to be promoted about every 6 months and usually moved about once a year, which I was. And while I didn't move to all of these cities they have on the map here, I think it pretty well shows about every 11 months I was moving. I was moved 5 times in my first 5 years, and as a young person with not particularly good social skills, uh, it really became too much. They made the mistake of moving me back home to Atlanta with my fifth move, offered me a promotion to Cincinnati within about 6 months, and I said, nope, sorry, I'm getting off this train. I need a life, and I'm where I want to be now. So I went to work for a company called Seba Vision Care about 6 months before they opened business. So for those of you who are entrepreneurs, your professor here began with the company about 6 months before any revenues. When I left 10 years later, we were doing about $200 million. We had about 2,000 employees, and actually I should probably correct to today's dollars, we were at about $400 million. And we're a highly successful contact lens company. While I was at SEBA, I moved from accounting into sales and marketing. As an accountant, I was reviewing all of the money they were spending at these meetings they had, and I said, "Gosh, I need to be there on the other end of the receiving part of these deluxe suites and $5,000 parties." And moved into marketing and sales, and spent about I guess 7 or 8 years in sales and marketing, during which time I held basically every position you can have in marketing. I sold, telemarketing, I was a sales manager, I was a telemarketing manager, I ran a customer service organization, briefly ran a distribution organization, was director of marketing research, product management, pricing, name it, I did it. It was a very rapidly growing company, and you had to be very flexible and willing to move at any time. So I was constantly moving in and out, enjoying my life very much. I had about 75 employees in about a $15 million expense budget when I left, and should talk about a little bit when I left, because basically because a major competitor, Johnson & Johnson, launched a disposable contact lens. Everybody now that has lenses wears disposable lenses, but at the time it was radical, and some of the strategic things they did made it clear to me. I was director of marketing research at the time, that the strategic advantage they had was going to last for at least 4 or 5 years. In other words, we were going to struggle for a while. But I done very well with bonus money over the last 3 or 4 years of my company, so I had a lot of cash sitting in my pocket. I had was just getting married, actually. I'd met my wife after many years as a dissolute single. Finally met the person I was going to spend the rest of my life with. And at the age of 35, I had an opportunity to sit back and say, what do I want to do? Something we ask people to do now as 18-year-old freshmen in college, and that's kind of crazy, because I think most studies will show that until you're sometime in your late 20s, you really have very little idea of what you enjoy and how you want to spend your life, especially your work life. But what I really loved was working with young people. My time as a sales trainer, we had about a 200-person pharmaceutical sales force, and I was responsible for training for a significant period of time there. And my time with my young people, my salespeople, I loved. I very much enjoyed my research as a marketing research director, and I loved marketing generally. The contact with customers was something that was very energizing to me. And as I put together what I wanted to do, because another piece of me, I really value my independence. I like doing the things I enjoy. I was terrible in those situations where I was given here's A, do B, and look for the C outcome. I really didn't enjoy that. And I decided, what the heck? I've got the money, I've got the time, I'm going to go get a PhD. And I went back to Georgia State University, one of the country's excellent urban universities now, and got my PhD in marketing at the ripe young age of 40. Was the oldest living PhD in business granted that year. May have been the oldest PhD anywhere in the United States, though I kind of doubt it. There's usually some older folks around. And after spending about 5 years earning that PhD, went to the University of New Orleans, where I was immediately tapped by the dean and asked to create an executive education program. The university was struggling with finances at the time, and I had a lot of background, had a lot of skills that were unusual in a faculty. And to make a long story short, over the next 3 years or so, created, I think, eventually 4 or 5 different executive programs. By the time I left, they were generating about $3 or $4 million in revenue, and about half of that was unrestricted earnings for the university. So they very much loved me. They tenured me for doing those things. The provost was very positive about the things I'd done, and so it was a great experience for me. But I never felt at home in New Orleans, especially after our children were born. I'm a mountain boy. I'm a sixth generation Appalachian. Sometime in the, we don't know exactly when, but sometime well before the Revolutionary War, the first Henson moved into the mountains. You can imagine what things looked like here. One of my ancestors married a Cherokee, and every generation, my family, which began right here in Haywood County, moved about 50 miles down the Appalachians and until I was born in North Georgia, just outside Atlanta. And so Western North Carolina to me is very much home. Right down the main street of Silva looks very much like Main Street, Canton, Georgia, where I grew up. And I love the lifestyle here. I love to fish. I love to hike. I love to be outside. I've got my own little, not so little anymore, vegetable garden. And, I drive a tractor on weekends. And so for a lot of reasons, I've ended up in life being a happy person. My parents are actually still alive. They're not in great health, but they're in very good health for people who are in their mid-80s. And I've never had really serious health issues of any kind myself. So I've kind of ended up where I want to be, doing the things I want to do. And one of the things I've always wanted to do is teach and teach well. And I hope you see that enthusiasm and happiness coming through. Last thing I want to mention for my small business people, I'm also currently Chief Marketing Officer for a small early stage biotech company that sells both dietary supplements based on Golden Seal and is in the process of seeking pharmaceutical approval for those products. So as we're trying to bring in some small business flavor to the company, you might hear me talking about them. And this has gone about long enough. This will probably be about twice as long as you're going to want your own screencast to be, because the next thing you're going to do is read Getting Started, read the syllabus, and in whichever of my classes you're taking, almost invariably your first assignment is going to be a brief screencast. And you've just watched one. So thanks very much.